There's a rumor out there that Disney might be considering moving its California parks to Texas. Is this true? Where's this come from, and how likely is it? There is a rumor going around out there right now that because Disney can't open up Disneyland or California Adventure due to COVID, and probably won't be able to for a while yet, that they may actually decide to move the parks to Texas, where they could reopen them. Is this even a possibility? Well, let's go through this a little bit. The rumor actually started a few months back when a website called Uncle Walt's posted it that Disney was going to close the California parks for good, buy property in Texas, and move them there. Now, if you don't know, Uncle Walt is a satire site. What they publish isn't real, and if you read the article originally, it became pretty clear that it was satire and not real and completely fictional and made up. However, there were a number of people that read this, didn't read the article, they just saw the headline and began to run with it. And it began to grow and it began to snowball. And then even people who knew it was satire started saying, well, maybe this could be a possibility. Maybe it is something Disney's looking at. Maybe it is something that could actually possibly happen if they can't open the parks. So is it really a possibility? We know it started as satire, but could it have moved into the realm of the real? Well, probably not. There's a number of problems with this. One, you've actually got the cost. I mean, we can just start right there. Disney would have to find a place in Texas that they could buy the land. Where are they going to be able to buy land that's going to be affordable and functional and work for new Disney parks? Really, if they're going to want to make it work, your only places that could really work in Texas would be near Dallas and Fort Worth or near Houston. They're the only ones that have the airports and the roads that could possibly handle something like that. And outside of the weather being horrid in both places, I mean, they did make Florida work. The problem is the land costs would be very high. If word gets out that Disney wants to buy the land, the costs are going to jump up. And they've got to find a big enough piece of land that's going to be able to hold all of that. That's going to be expensive to begin with. But then you actually get into the building the new parks, because they're going to have to basically be built from scratch. It's not like just picking everything up and going plunk. It doesn't work that way. To give you an example, the new Star Wars Galaxy's Edge land, cost estimates for that alone were over $1 billion. This doesn't include any of the rest of the park, just Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. So to build it fresh and new, yeah, you won't have the research and development, but the costs are not going to be much less. You're looking $750 million for just one little part. Then you start adding in all the rest of the land. The landscaping, the architecture, the rides. A lot of the older rides probably are not even going to be able to be moved. They would have to be scrapped and completely redone. So you're looking billions of dollars for the land, the rebuilding, the construction, the design, and all of that. Cheap, low estimate would be $6 billion. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it would turn into over 10 when you consider all the parks and everything that's in them. And then, of course, you've got to have the infrastructure with hotels and restaurants and all of that kind of stuff, too, around, which brings the price up even more. Think about that. $6 to $10 billion to build new parks. That's an outrageous amount. Even if they have to stay closed for another year, they're not going to lose that much money compared to having to buy new ones. And it still leaves the old ones sitting there, which is not going to work well because, trust me, the businesses and the government around Disneyland would love to see it open as well. You're having to reforge all new government alliances and laws and codes and work with all that. That's a whole nother process, the legal process that goes along with it. So again, costs, relationships, and then the time factor. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge took a couple years to build. By the time you go through and you start buying the land, get the land all secured, get it cleared, get the permits done, start construction, finish construction, you're looking 4 to 5 years minimum. That's a pretty long process compared to let's wait a year and get these parks reopened where they are. 4 to 5 versus a year, maybe 2. Hopefully not that long. It doesn't balance. Let's pay $10 billion to wait 5 years. Let's lose $500 million to wait 2. I know which way I would go on that. It's just not reasonable. Not only that, but then you also lose all the history. You lose Walt's touch. The Texas park wouldn't be Walt's. It would be a brand new conglomerate thing, and Disney has already shown that it's now in the method of building things on the cheap. It wouldn't be the same. The heart, the soul, the detail that's in Disneyland would not exist at a Texas park. You wouldn't have Walt's fire department apartment. It wouldn't be there. You wouldn't have the petrified tree at the Rivers of America. You wouldn't have the Snow White Grotto. You wouldn't have all these small little touches that exist at Disneyland because they wouldn't put them there. In fact, you would probably almost surely lose a number of the rides forever that Disney decided, you know what? Yeah, we just don't want to build this one again. It could easily mean the loss of such things as the Storybook Land canal boats or some of the smaller capacity dark rides. Would Pinocchio make the journey? Would Alice in Wonderland make the journey? Would Mr. Toad be lost again? So you're going to lose a number of things. They're not going to move everything. There is still enough of a desire to keep tradition alive in Disney. The PR that would not go well, would not play well, is not something Disney is going to want. They're not going to want the look of, let's leave Walt behind and go do something else without him and lose his heart and his whole soul in it. Well, and then there's the whole idea of California Adventure in Texas. That doesn't work either. I don't think the Texans are going to appreciate California Adventure. They're going to want Texas Adventure, which is a whole different kind of thing. So just the whole idea, just on multiple levels, that Disneyland could potentially move to Texas is just not workable. Whether cost, whether timeline, construction, the things lost, the tradition, Walt himself, no, it's not going to happen. So then there was an alternative that came up. Well, maybe they could consider moving the studios, because at least that way they could keep working and the studios isn't tied to the park. And I kind of went, well, you run into a number of the same issues. The cost, the timeline, the construction, the time before it could get open and operating, the losing tradition. All of that would be lost. The other thing that happens if you leave Disney Studios behind and try to go to Texas, there is not a film industry in Texas like there is in California. You don't have access to all the sets that are still in California, the studios in California, the other organizations that share the filming locations, backdrops, the experience. The crews all live in California, not Texas. The actors, the whole thing is based in California. You're not going to uproot all of Hollywood and everything that goes with it and move it to Texas. And Disney, being the only studio that would go, isn't going to change that. In fact, it would be shooting Disney in the foot because they would be losing everything that is already built and established in California, and they would have a pale comparison imitation in Texas that would lose so many of the resources that they would need to be successful. So, no, the studio isn't moving either. So the whole idea of a multi-billion-dollar company moving everything that they need that's in California and moving to Texas and leaving most of what they need behind isn't going to happen. Sorry for the rumor people that are really wanting to cling to this, or what a cool idea. No, it's not. Not on any level. So that's why Disney is not going to move to Texas. And trust me, there's a multitude of other reasons as well. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you know something else that maybe I've missed? I'd love to hear it. Please share it in the comments below. Thanks as well for checking the description. Tons of info there. Thank you to my financial supporters. If you want to know more about those, check the description as well. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. There's a rumor going around right now that Disney, because they can't open the parks in California, is going to have their phone ding. Hello, dear. Okay. Turn the phone on silent. Thought it was already. You wouldn't have the petrified tree at the lake of... at the lake. Wrong place. If anything, you would be shooting Disney in the foot because they'd be losing... So this is why Texas isn't moving to Disney. Yep. If you'd like to know about my merchandise, contact information, fan pages, and more, be sure to check the description below. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of my videos, hit that button right there to subscribe. And if you want to see another one, well, I've got a great video for you right here. If you'd like to be like these wonderful people here too and support me financially on Patreon or YouTube, well, hit that little button right there. It'll even give you behind the scenes access and more perks. Thank you so incredibly much for watching, and God bless.